This is Fowl Players Radio, your podcast for arts, entertainment, and pop culture. Welcome. My name is Michael Spedden, your host. Every episode features fun, fascinating stories about people in the performing arts, actors, authors, dancers, writers, musicians, athletes, you name it. Folks who are center stage, backstage, on camera, or behind the scenes. Sit back and listen. Let's have some fun. Fowl Players Radio is a proud production of the Fowl Players Group and the official podcast of the Fowl Players of Perryville.
Hi, this is Bud Becker.
Hi, everybody. Dwight Weems from Gaz the Fun Band.
Hi, folks. This is Jay David.
Hey, this is Brian Damage from Kicks and Rhino Bucket.
Hi, this is Kim of Kim's Crypt.
Hello, my name is Gunhild Carling.
Hi, this is Paul Castiglia, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio, the one-stop shop for all your pop culture needs.
Season 10, Episode 20 of Fowl Players Radio, my trusty sidekick, Alfred Guy and I, spoke to actor Brian St. August. All three of us have worked in the past for Lee Dahl Films, with Brian and Alfred working together in the Fixer series. Brian just released a CD full of songs he's recorded over the years called Retrospective, and it was released on Neat Face Records. For more information on these products, see LeeDahlFilms.com and Neat Face Records. Links are below, as are links to Brian's IMDb page. Follow us at www.foulplayersradio.com and www.youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. Some good news starting August 29th, 2023. You will be able to hear me on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide. I will have my own show, The Back of the Rack, with Michael Spedden, which will air on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. My show will feature deep album cuts, local pure rock, both classic and current, songs you may have forgotten that you liked, and classics that never die. That's The Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide. Hello, listeners. We at Fowl Players Radio thank you for all of your support over the past 10 seasons and nearly 300 episodes. We would like to encourage you to keep listening and spread the word. Audio versions of all episodes can be found on our main website, foulplayersradio.com, as well as on many of the other platforms you can see here. You can find all of our Season 9 and 10 episodes, as well as some best-of episodes and shorts on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to get alerts when new episodes are released. No matter what platform you choose to listen, you can help us greatly by hitting the subscribe button and giving us an honest review. You can also help us by supporting us at patreon.com/foulplayersradio or at buymeacoffee.com/foulplayerw. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to be your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. Be sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for new episode announcements and news and updates on all of our guests. Thank you, and enjoy this episode. The Fowl Players of Perryville will be performing their murder mystery shows on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad August 5th, September 2nd, October 7th, and 28th. For more information, please see www.wmsr.com and www.foulplayersofperryville.com. Hope to see you there.
Hey, you guys, this is Gina Shock, drummer of the Go-Go's.
Snowman here.
Hey, Mary Jo Peel here.
Hi, this is Kathy Ladman.
Hi, this is Jay Nedry from the Road Dogs.
This is A.D. Adams, and you are tuned in to Fowl Players Radio with your host, Michael Spedden.
And welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. Michael Spedden here. And tonight our guest is Brian St. August. Brian and I have worked in the same circles together. We're both part of the Lee Dahl family. However, we happen to be the cousins that haven't met each other until the big funeral, I guess you could call it, or the big wedding. We'll say a happier occasion. This is Lee Dahl, right? The wedding, the family wedding. We have been in a number of the Lee Dahl films together, some of the Luana Lee series. Brian's been in The Fixer. And Brian just re-released some material he's had, that he's had for a while, on Lee Dahl's Neat Face Records label. And we're going to talk about that tonight. But Brian has filmed and worked very closely with the official horror movie correspondent of Fowl Players Radio, Mr. Alfred Guy, who's going to be joining us shortly. And so how's that for an introduction there, Brian? That's a pretty long-winded one, but hey, you're here and we're glad to meet you. Good to have you.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me. It's always fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you and I were talking, and you mentioned that really, and this is the same thing with me too, that your performing career had really started in music.
Yeah.
And been more of you started off as a musician as I did, actually kind of backed into acting. Maybe it wasn't what you had set out to do, but had some opportunities here. So tell us about where are you from originally too? Just let us know, a little bit about the beginnings,
Originally from Baltimore.
Grew up in Baltimore. Where about?
Well, I grew up in Milford Mill area, then Catonsville. And
Oh, sure.
I'm currently
Yeah.
in Towson. And I've always stayed here because most of my work is not in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I like BWI. It services a lot of places, and it's comfortable to get into and get out of. So I've stayed here. It's kind of fun because I've had a number of national situations, and I'll be sitting in a restaurant watching TV, either commercially or dramatically, and my characters will go out. Nobody has any idea. But in New York, when my Chick-fil-A commercial was running, I got off the subway and I had people asking me if I was Thomas Edison. So it doesn't matter where you are. People don't expect you to be a national artist when you're living in this area. And I love it for that reason.
Absolutely. I understand what you mean by that. I've been recognized too. I was at a bull roast one time and I was eating, and I noticed these people at the next table staring at me. And then they came over, like 4 or 5 guys come over, and they're like, "Hey, you." And I was like, "Oh God, what did I do?" And they're like, "Are you that Viking?" And I was like, yeah, I am. Actually, yes, I am. And they're like, "Wow, no kidding. Hey, look, everybody, it's the Viking, J.G. Wentworth." And I was like, well, I thought I was getting beat up or something. I thought I offended somebody or did something wrong. But that's always a good feeling, isn't it? When somebody sees you and they're like, "Hey, it's that guy."
Where was it that they saw you, that they recognized you?
It was at it used to be the GM US Automakers Union Hall off of O'Donnell Street.
So it was local. That was my question, really.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what I was saying is that you can do a lot of that stuff and be on the air quite a bit. But if you're not in New York or California or sometimes Miami, people don't even think that you could be doing that.
Oh, right, exactly. Exactly.
You might look like him, but but I was just kidding you that when I got off the subway, somebody in New York immediately recognized me because they associate national commercials with New York or California, sort of. But it was fun, and that was a wonderful role that you had. I mean, that's a great one. The Viking.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was and that was quite the audition process and everything too. I had mentioned to you earlier, and look who it is. Speak of the devil, Alfred Guy has joined us here. Our official horror movie correspondent of Fowl Players Radio has joined us to be with his fixer castmate, Brian St. August.
That's right.
So welcome, Alfred. Welcome. We were just talking about commercials and getting recognized. And I told him, I was just telling Brian about the incident at the bull roast where I thought I was going to get beat up, but it was people that just recognized me from being the Viking.
Oh boy. Well, who would be beating you up though? It must have been a lot of them.
Yeah, it was like 4 of them. Yeah, it was like 4 of them. So yeah, but it really is, something. Have you ever had this experience, Brian? If you film something up in New York and they say, "Where are you from?" They usually expect you to say Jersey or Philly or New York area itself. I tell them I'm from Maryland. They think I'm like coming from Arizona to get there. It's like, "You came all the way up from Maryland?" I was like, it's like 150 miles or something. It's not a big deal. They're like, they thought I came from like, what is this, Maryland, Arizona you're thinking of or something,
But see, I think one of the sides to that is that, particularly New York and in California, they're looking for local artists that can get there immediately if the the audition changes, the last minute, they can get in touch with you. My management was in New York, as was my commercial agent. And unfortunately, God bless them both, they both died during the pandemic.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was the crux of my business for 20 years, was the guys. But anyway, the understanding that we always had, and they had with me as an artist, was that I was local. Schedule my auditions later so that I could get in town and get out fine. But we were seamless around my location, because a lot of the casting directors, if they find that you are not close, they'll just opt to see somebody else. And it's easy to get screened out, so we just tried to make that a little harder for them, and it worked for 18 years.
Yeah. So we were just talking a bit about also how your first your first love was music. You've been performing as a musician. So tell us a bit about when that bug bit you.
I think it was 1961, 62, and I saw The Parent Trap with Haley Mills. I was probably 13 years old thereabouts, and fell in love with her. And I had the same experience that the actor Kevin Kline from the movie French Kiss and others. We both got into the industry because we wanted to somehow meet her. So if I go all the way back, I mean, I made a decision at that point in time that I was going to either be a singer or a writer or something. And I was just way too shy at that time to be announcing myself as a singer, and I wasn't very good at it at that time either. But that was my incentive. So everything that I did, and when I look back on it now, I mean, whatever accomplishments there have been, I got to thank Haley Mills for that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yep. And so you started playing, and it looks like what kinds of places did you start off playing? Were you doing, was it like the coffee house thing? I'm early 60s, I'm guessing.
Well, starting, the major influences on me early when I first started were the Beach Boys. And,
okay.
And it was Les Alexander of WCAO that actually gave us the name The Shoremen.
Oh, okay, right.
At the moment to recognize the Shoremen was just a maturing of the Beach Boys. Anyway, we were initially a recording group, and we just had tons of stuff in the can, but we did play at Milford Mill Pool. I actually spun records at Milford Mill Pool for the WCAO DJs that played there, and that's how I had a lot of linkage to the radio situation early on. Did like Campfield Teen Center, all those kind of places, different movie theaters.
Yeah.
As we released records, we had a lot more activity than that. I remember we released it was our third song, Dance USA, and we were promoting it for WSMD in La Plata, Maryland. And my friend Dave Mark and I drove down there, and we were doing this in an old movie theater, and we were lip syncing the record, as everybody did back then. And then it was over. We had the 45s, and we just took them like UFOs and threw them out in the audience.
Threw them out like frisbees, huh?
Yeah, very memorable experience.
Yeah. I started off doing CYO dances and stuff myself in the 80s, and they were, it was a good time, and you weren't dealing with club owners back then. That was an animal we weren't quite ready for when we were 16, and that can be
older than that.
Yep. You're so and then the movie theaters too. The movie theaters, that was something I can remember. I don't remember it, but I know it was something popular as well. Having multiple act shows at those on the weekends. I think, were they matinees, or were they at least?
Yeah, it was a matinee at it was off Liberty Road in Randallstown. There was a movie theater then, which has since left. And we played there for some high school kids. It was just really a fun gig. But then, as I got back into music later in my life, I wound up playing I would say the better part of 10 years, locally and all over the country. And I was playing 125 to 130 gigs a year, which really changed my my view of how to manage an audience and how to manage myself.
Yeah, yeah.
I was so shy early in my career, and I got beyond that thanks to a couple of God-driven things. But the bottom line of it was, I am a whole lot different artist now than I was back then when I was 14.
Sure, sure.
I guess that might be right.
We all are. We all are. I look back at some of the things I look back at some of the things I did when I was 14, 15, 16 years old in bands. And it makes sense as to why my parents thought I was an idiot back then, as compared to, it's just one of those things, I guess. But it seemed like a good moment. It seemed like a good idea at the time. But
I agree. I agree.
Right, well, right. And WCAO was a good sized station back then. That was a pretty popular
in the
station.
60s, particularly into the 70s. It was the station for rock and roll in our area. And it had a good signal then. Now I think it's just kind of a flat talk show thing been that way for quite a while. But it was great, and they had opened up a lot of doors for us in connections and contacts and so forth going forward.
I had Frank Luber on the show a couple of years ago, and he was on WJZ forever, and he was also WCAO, and he interviewed the Beatles when they came to Baltimore, and he told me some great stories about that. I mean, could you imagine just the history that he's seen? And I've had other folks on too that were veteran news people, and I'm just fascinated with the history that they've witnessed, both entertainment wise and just general world and news history and everything. It's just really really something. That's why these are the stories we like to tell here, and the people that make things happen, like yourself, would like to hear your stories too. Well, this is great. I have a CD here that was sent to me by our good friend Lee Dahl, and it has 29 tracks on it. And are there any of them on here that are your favorite, or are they all your children? Do you love them all, or
they're all my children, and they're
of course
the survivors. There are actually, as far as the digital market for that particular product, there are 3 more songs, but they couldn't fit on the CD. So the aspect of that album contains 3 other tunes. No, I mean they're all there because they represented that first stage of my history as a songwriter. But we did a lot of really good things then, and if people listen to the album, it's part of what we try to say in the liner notes is if you can listen and you can hear the development of all the groups that we were working alongside, the Mamas and the Papas, the Association, and it's in our sound. We were supported very much by MGM Records. Wally Schuster and Tony Orlando was his assistant.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Tony had the hit record Bless You, and then kind of got off the road, settled down a little bit in a management position working for Wally, and then he did the thing with Knock 3 Times and the group there. But he was a wonderful guy, and they were very, very supportive of us. You mentioned Frank Luber. The person I think that kind of impact on us was Johnny Dark.
Oh yeah, I've heard that name before. Yes,
just died about 2 years ago, and he was quite the guy. He was really, really outstanding. He had a TV show. We did that with him a number of times, and I think CAO kind of viewed him as like if you don't really rank those guys because they all had their own around it, but I think they all kind of deferred to Johnny as being kind of special. He was like the Buddy Dean of radio.
Yes, yeah. I would. That's the kind of impression I get from the stories I've heard from him, and I think that you pretty much nailed it right on the head. From that's a good description, I think, from what I've heard of him and everything.
Yeah, really good guy.
Yep.
Alfred Guy thing it was for me to meet him, because that was when I got to do this Fixer. Alfred, I think you even wrote a lot of it, didn't you? Besides,
not on the first one. I was mainly doing well, I did do a little bit of rewrite, but I was mainly involved with all the other coordination, stunt coordination and that type stuff for that first one. Yeah.
I thought that you were extraordinary to work with. And I was telling you, you're very welcome. I was telling Mike before we started, we're just sharing a couple of people things. And I said, I'll tell you something about Alfred Guy. Yep. Alfred Guy is an amazing martial artist. He's an amazing father. He's an amazing person in every way, shape, or form. And I think that most of the people who have attained what you have attained in martial arts have a rare quality of integrity and sense of self. And I just think you're an amazing person. So I applaud you from here.
I agree. I agree. 100%.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Well, exactly. And like, I've said too, that, the martial arts, the fact that you're a hell of a good actor, and the fact that, when we have younger people around, you're also a hell of a good example for them too. When we were doing Polar, whoever wasn't sure what they were doing, they always went with Alfred. Alfred showed them the ropes, where Alfred just, heck of a good leader, heck of a good example, as a actor and as a human being, so it's a blessing to work with.
Yeah. Both of my sons had small part, and my daughter had a part in one of this, one of the scenes. So,
and they were outstanding.
Thank you.
Then you fought your son, and one of them, he was doing the flips or something.
Yeah. I had a little brief skirmish with both of them.
Yep.
and of course they won to let them, tell it, but that's okay. I'll let them have that.
I just remember that at the very end of the Fixer, we're sitting. There was a thing you were doing. You were teaching me to do throughout the
right,
where you press yourself down and lift yourself up in the air from a squatted position. Lift yourself into the air off the ground, and I could never do it. But at the very end, we fixed it, and I did it. But I said some things about the quality of our relationship and how neat it was. This is going to really be good because you're a good person. We're going to do some good things in the future. And that was so neat. It was kind of spontaneous, but it's exactly how I felt, Alfred, working with you on that, particularly your role as Yeba. You were amazing, and I really valued it.
Yeah, thank you. I felt the same way. I think those last lines in the movie were really reflective of what we had gone through during the entire filming and the connection we made. Because with a lot of this stuff, I consider myself kind of traveling in all of your worlds. I really consider you guys the real professional people doing this, and meeting up with Mike and doing some things with him and the whole acting thing. I'd done very little before our thing together, especially having to be in scenes and actually help carry entire scenes. I've done background stuff, but I think the example you set just made it so easy. And I don't know if you know what you did, because I don't remember ever coming to you with specific things, but just the way you went through a scene, and I was always comfortable, and it was just like that constant kind of connection and help that it just made it so easy. I figured, it would always be that easy, which wasn't true with other ventures later on, but you're a true professional, and it seemed almost effortless and seamless. And I just kind of was traveling along with you. That's the way I felt. And I was doing well because I was traveling along with you. And so, I want to thank you for that, because that really, that was really a great experience beyond just kind of being in front of the camera. A sense of working together on something and accomplishment and achievement. And so I do really appreciate that.
I thank you equally. Thank you so much. I was thinking as you were talking, one of the people that really rose to that occasion, and it was his first event. And I believe, Mike, that you have had Steve Rifkin on your show, haven't you?
I have, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
Steve Areno, yes.
Steve Areno. Steve Areno. That was
Yeah.
the first actual thing.
hmm
That's the voice.
Was. Yeah.
If
Yep.
you haven't seen the movie, that's how he talked.
Mhm.
It's a little gravelly.
I've had, yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
I thought Steve he did a great job. He really inhabited his character so
Yeah.
well.
Yes, it seemed natural for him. He really did kind of throw himself into it. Yeah.
It's a fun group of people to work with. It's a family over at with Lee Dahl and his Lee Dahl Films. And I've had, I'd say, a good part of the company on there. Of course, Alfred, and Alfred co-hosts with me quite a bit. And of course, you, Brian, we've had Steve Rivkin, Alexandra Hewitt twice.
I've done some TV work with her.
Yeah.
Great. Alex is awesome.
Alex is wonderful. And she just put out, I just had her on the show. Oh, I'd say about maybe it was at the beginning of the summer. I had her on because she just released a book. She wrote a book, and it's a good book too. It's an easy read. It's a good book. The kind of book you can sit down with and stick with. It's an easy read, and she did a nice job of writing it. So I had her on. So that was the second time for her, and then there was Lee and Kate together, and I think Robert Long, who I think has done some stuff with you.
He did. He was in Fixers with us.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Maybe not. It'll come to me. I've had I think you're something like my 298th guest, Brian. So I can't say I could rattle them all off in one sitting.
You mentioned Alexandra, and my son called me. He's in Florida now. He called me about 2 weeks ago and said, "Dad, you're on. Your show's on." It was Nightmare Next Door, one of those.
Oh yeah.
The Texas Terror, and she played a woman who found the body. Played a suspect.
Oh wow!
Tended to imbibe quite a bit, and his name was Marvin. They didn't recognize that he was in a wheelchair.
Oh right.
When he had been reported at the scene, he was driving, so they didn't realize he was wheelchair bound. So yeah, but she's great. We also do some work, as an actor, staying really close with your emotional things in your improv. Your ability to connect emotionally in a moment is so important. And I have never done anything, TV, movie, or commercial work ever that is as challenging as the work that I do for the hospitals. I do a lot of end of life stuff that are very emotional. If I'm dying or a family member or whatever. And I do a project with her for the Children's Hospital at Hopkins, and she's just an amazing actress. So give her my regards next time you see her, please.
Oh, absolutely. So you said it was the Nightmare Next Door. That was an ID show, I guess.
Yes.
Did you do those when they were filmed? And was it Sirens Media out of Bethesda?
I did 7 for Sirens Media and 9 for M2. They're down.
Okay.
Not Roanoke area. Not Roanoke. The heavy part of Virginia, the Tidewater thing.
Oh, sure. Right.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed doing their projects a lot more, and they're more fun. For one thing, they used live audio.
Yeah.
And most of what we did, particularly if you were an actor that they trusted after a while, they used everything that you said. And where Sirens Media was all voiceover, you're just kind of going through the motions in their voiceovering. But yeah, I think I did 16 or 17 and some very, very popular ones. But as a character actor, nobody recognizes me from one thing to the other anyway.
I did a few of those too, but they were up in it was Lion Television up in Queens, did them. And the ones I did, the first one I did, I was severely blurred. And everybody else, they either filmed from behind or from the neck down. And then the second one I did, they blurred me a little bit. They blurred me a little bit, but you could make out that it was me. And I kind of looked like the detective I was playing, you know. So
get you into the frame.
That's a problem with me. They need that wide angle lens there, and they need a wide angle lens, or they need to figure something out for me. I'm not sure what it is yet. You know, maybe they could do like that thing that Lee has. Lee kind of Lee's got a lot of special effects, and he does those little characters in his movies where he could. Didn't he made himself real small one time?
Yeah, a little alien.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
That's what they need to do to me. You know, it's like
I think that that Alfred and I are about the same size, and if we stood on each other's shoulders, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoulders and tippy toes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's something. You can see it in the pictures we take too. You know, every time we do a murder mystery show together, whether it be one of my shows or JR Entertainment's, we always get a group shot, and you know, it's for some reason I'm always in the back. I'm not exactly sure why, but yeah, but I tell you, it's great having good people to work with, isn't it? You know, great having good people to work with. You're in good company. It's just is putting projects together and performing is just such a joy.
It is. It truly is. It's an honor to do it. I always felt that regardless of what the project was, it was a privilege to be able to do it because this was going to be seen by other people. And when other people see your work, there's possibility of impact, and you want it to be positive and something that enhances their life as well as your own by doing it. So I think it's really important.
Sure, absolutely. And I'd seen, you know, you sent me a number of your commercials, and you were great in all the ones that I saw. That was the job well done on those. And with those, you know, the thing I like about commercials is that they're not as, I mean, some of them are probably pretty, you have to stay pretty tight and true to usually a time frame or something. But some of the ones that I saw you did, you know, you do have a little bit of time for some fun and a little bit of wiggle room in there too. And when you have that, sometimes you can really come up with something brilliant that they weren't expecting but love, you know.
Well, there, you know, in the Chick-fil-A ad and the Coupon Bug ad, both of those were they were directed by some pretty good people and who are doing all kind of incredible work now. In those kind of situations, there's not as much flexibility.
Right.
Because there's a whole lot of people involved. In the one that I did for Chick-fil-A as Thomas Edison, it was a single person ad. It was the one for TV ran, I think it was 35 seconds, and the one that they ran for online was, I think, 15 seconds. And when you're managing something as tight as that, there's not a lot of flexibility. And plus, they had done casting in California and New York, and thank God, I mean, they found me, and I said, "What's so special about that?" But they were looking for something, and I guess that's what they wanted to find. So,
I guess when they're aimed for broadcast, where somebody may have bought a certain amount of time, and like during a television show, there's only a certain amount of time to do that and fit all the other ads in.
Exactly.
Some of the commercials that I had done earlier on were web commercials, to where they may have been possibly thrown in during a YouTube video, or one where you would go to the company's website and actually click on it there and you could watch the ad run. And
Uh-huh.
with some of those, we had a lot of fun doing them. One I can remember was it was Skill Force Labor, and I still kept the blooper reel from that because we had so many outtakes and so many bloopers that we had a lot of fun with. And then another one was Hunt a Killer, which is an internet game where they send you a kit. The company sends the people that play a kit every month, and you have clues in it, and then you have to figure out, a murder. But the first thing they did for that was to kick off the product was a scavenger hunt event. And the promotion that we did for that was, it was probably about a minute and a half long, but we had these old abandoned houses we got to play in and really, come up with different things that we could throw in there, and let's try this, let's try that. And you really get it, you really have a lot of fun with that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, you had mentioned about the Lee Dahl connection. The Lee Dahl connection, I think, runs through somebody else, and that's Wayne Shipley.
Sure, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I met Lee on one of my first Wayne Shipley movie that I did, and that opened the door to all my Lee Dahl projects. But I've done 3 feature movies for Wayne, and the second one, Day of the Gun, besides playing a principal role, I was also the narrator.
Oh.
But I narrated in a voice of a very mature old person, where my character was in his 40s, 50s in the actual movie. But anyway, you've also been exposed to Wayne, haven't you, Mike? Or
I've met him once, but I never worked with him. But I did film 2 of the projects I filmed with Lee were at the property that he had that was set up like an old West town.
Yeah.
Out in, I guess, what was it, Laurel?
Jessup,
right. I'd been to the property a couple of times, but I had nothing. We were never in the same thing together. No, but I did meet him. I have had the pleasure of meeting. He's a good guy. I like Wayne. He's a good guy.
He's a marvelous person, and he's been so supportive of his talent. On Amazon, he has all of his movies are on there, but he's done a lot of shorts as well, and I've done a lot of that work for him also. And he just never forgets the people that he's worked with that have tried to bring a good feeling to his work. And I just have nothing but laurels to say about Wayne Shipley, one of the finest people that I know. And I'm not surprised that you've knew him too, because it seems like good people.
I have met him, I think, but I just don't. I've never had the pleasure of working with him. And I've heard. Well, Alfred, you were with me when Alexandra was on, and and she was raving about working with him too. She had nothing but good things to say about him. So maybe that day will come. Hint, hint. If anybody named Wayne Shipley's listening.
Wayne actually became a recurring character throughout the different productions that Lee, because the series tended to be different. You had the Adventures of Luana Lee and The Fixer, and then the newer movie Ready for Action, and in all of those, Wayne was the detective. He played that recurring role. And it was almost like an iconic thing where if you had to consult the police, it was going to be Wayne's character,
right?
That he would come do whatever he did, with regardless of what the theme was or what other characters were involved. That he was the person,
right? I think Jill worked with him. Jill Redding.
Oh, she may have, yeah.
It was one of the more recent. Was one of the films that they did filmed around Berkeley Springs in the last couple of years. Yes, Jill was in that. Jill was in that. Jill Redding. Jill Redding is another. See, this is Smaltimore here. It's with Jill, we do murder mysteries with her as well as and she knows, a lot of people around too, from her part on The Wire and all the other films and projects she's been involved with. And she's wonderful too. She's just wonderful to work with. Yeah, I have to say, getting to know all the ensemble and all the I guess we'll call them the Liedal family, and the people that I kind of met, I feel like all the best things that have happened to me, and you may agree with this too, have happened by chance. It wasn't always what you set out to do, but you happened to meet somebody, and it kind of worked. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, the things I planned for, they're the ones that seem to fly off the rods. But just kind of the things you don't expect, the ones classic moments either at that time or in your life. You just never know what some a friend of mine, Dan Millman, who's an outstanding writer, wrote a movie called No Ordinary Moments, and it's about that that there's not a moment in life that's ordinary.
Oh, right.
Just back up from it and recognize in that moment there's so much promise, there's so much opportunity for you to utilize it. It's just that most of the time we're considering it an ordinary moment when in fact it's not. Dan's an incredible writer. The Peaceful Way of the Peaceful Warrior, a lot of really great books. Do you know him, Alfred? He seem like a guy that you would follow.
Yeah, I don't know him. No, I don't believe so.
Martial artist also.
Oh, okay.
The Russian kind. He learned from them. Kind of nasty. There's no pullback on maneuvers. It's all 100%. They wear like a top piece that I know you have them at your studios too.
Yeah, protective. Yeah.
And when they're sparring, they don't allow head or below the belt. But man, any other contact is frightening. That's what Dan came through, and he's a very peaceful guy. Probably why.
Well, yeah. I think that tends to be the case when you have people who are involved in something that requires that much discipline. They're usually, they're the last people you would expect, and they're very humble and a lot of times reserved. And they're the best ones, because the mediocre ones are in it for something else, and they're usually the bully types, and that doesn't last.
Right.
So when you see someone who's really great, that's the way they usually are.
Well, it seems like the ones that are the best at it are probably the ones that are the most low key and the most well behaved, because they're so damn tired from practicing it all the time.
Worn out.
Yeah, that's a point too.
They're worn out. They just want to sit down and have quiet,
relax. Yeah,
and be doing push-ups on their damn knuckles all day. And I forget this. I'm going to go rest. No trouble out of me.
I was telling Mike before that I actually got into the acting side after I had an open heart surgery in '99, and I made the decision coming back from Machu Picchu with my daughter for a seminar that Dan had given. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. And I made the decision coming back from Lima on the plane to Miami that I'm going to use this time, this moment, this new life, because I just about died on October 4th, 99. That I was going to use it to do things I hadn't done before. And so I think that he probably planted that seed in me when I was down there. But it changed my life. So just like you said, Mike, you never know when this is going to happen to you.
Right. And another thing too is I know that a number of other people have had some sort of an experience where it may not have been like as life or death as yours, but significant enough in life to where they make the decision that, no more doing what I don't want to do. I'm going to follow that dream because I've almost run out of life, or I've almost, either lost your life, or I've lost any kind of window to find something that I've always wanted to do that would make me very happy if I accomplished it. And I know a lot of people like that are finally just saying, "Yep, now it's time for me," and they're going to pursue their dream and everything. Or another thing too, I almost died. I have this gift, and I'm going to use it. And I'm not going to put things off any longer because it was almost too late, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are those moments in life where we get to look and say, "Hey, this is where I've been. This is what I've been doing. If it ended now, would you be happy with that?"
Mm-hmm.
In my case, I said no, and I've been doing some pretty good stuff in different ways, but I didn't want that written, from my obituary. I didn't want that said at all. And I'll tell you, just between the three of us, that and your audience, of course.
Yeah, we are recording this, but yeah, I did hit the record button, Brian. So. I was getting ready to say, I hope this isn't horrible or something that oh God, did I say that while you hit record? Oh no.
When I go over my life now, the things I'm most proud of, my successes, or the things that I did, have all happened after October 4th, 99, after that surgery. So it does say that you can commit yourself to reevaluating, reconstructing, and reinventing yourself, which is what I ultimately did. And I think people do that all the time. I'm not trying to over dramatize but mine just, it was so clear in my life that it was a bridge, and I could have decided not to go over the bridge and continued to do what I'd been doing. But I think there would have been a haunting for me, and I would have known that I'd gone against the grain of an opportunity. And as it is now, I'm just really glad that I did what I did.
Well, good. We're glad you did too, because you've done a heck of a job with all the things of yours that I've seen and heard. And like I said, we're glad you're here with us, and glad that you've been able to accomplish what you have. One interesting thing you told me here, and this is kind of maybe a little oddball to bring up here, but you had mentioned when you had found the tapes of your music from years ago that we'll say time had not been kind to them. They were they got old.
Well, they were all out of real tapes. And,
right.
Some of them had been recorded on just 2-track recorders.
Sure.
Back in the early 60s. And then there were 4-track Scullies and 16-track Ampex, stuff like that. But the mix downs that I had were all reel to reel. And over 50 years, more or less, you couldn't even put them on a reel to reel recorder and tension them. They'd just powder. It was. And a friend of mine named Gary Brown, is a really excellent musician, had said, Brian, there's a company I've heard about in Ohio that literally bakes these old to resurrect them. Why don't you give it a shot? So I did. And I think you had mentioned earlier, there are 29 songs on the CD, 32 in the overall project. That's what we saved. That's what we resurrected, out of that old box of tapes. So
it's amazing they were able to restore it that way, baking it.
I'm oversimplifying it, I'm sure, Mike.
Oh yeah.
That's what they called it,
They pop it in the oven with a coffee cake or something and wait for the bell to ring, and I think it was a little more than that, huh?
I've heard that term before though, because I do a lot of movie collecting, and I'm getting the end product, usually the Blu-ray or 4K, and that is a process that they go through with a lot of the old films they find from like the 60s and earlier, and they've been subject to the that phenomenon, vinegar syndrome, where they actually smell like vinegar because they're deteriorating. And one part of the process for even the film is to bake it, whatever that entails. But they do that, and they're able to restore some of these things, and they look amazing. So
They
whatever
do.
whatever that is, they're doing a really good job with it.
And
I
even
was thrilled. I was thrilled because it was during the pandemic that I found the box. And, you know, I knew where it was, but during the pandemic, I live alone with my 2 cats. And, you know, there just isn't a lot of stuff to do.
right.
And I just wondered, I said, wow, see if I can play these, you know, listen to them again. And that's what I was saying, putting them up on the recorder, they're just breaking as I'm doing it. And my heart,
Wow.
because they're irreplaceable. Studio's long gone, the producer, the engineer is long dead. You know, it's so what this company in Ohio did for us saved that, and we would not have that product out there. That, gosh, I have to thank Lee so much. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this. This is the CD.
He has sent it to me. I'm gonna put it in my car so I can listen to it whenever I go in the car. Yeah.
Mhm.
But Lee did send me a copy.
It's a matter of taste.
Mhm.
Some will like it, and some
Look,
will not.
Mike's got his right there. There you go.
But you know, Lee has been so supportive of me as an artist, and obviously you two as well.
Absolutely.
It's almost as important to talk about people like him as it is to share our own experiences, because it's that kind of person. And if we can be that kind of person to other people who are trying to do their best in their art, maybe they need a help with this, but if we can reach out to do it, it's one thing to think it, but another to do it. And Lee does it. I mean, he does it.
Yes, he does.
And I can't thank him enough. Bless his heart. And Kate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're both great. They're both absolutely great people. And yeah, I knew Kate before I knew Lee. Actually, I'd known Kate since she was a kid. And I was actually, I'll tell the story real quick. She was friends with a lady I worked with's daughter. They were in school together. And I was asked to drive those girls to Washington, D.C. to Warner Theater to see the kids in the hall. And that's where I met Kate. Now, she was one of the girls that I was asked to drive down there. And then I had seen her around too. The one lady, it was, you know, a coworker of mine. Yeah, we were good friends and stuff. And we actually grew up in the same neighborhood and everything. And I used to see Kate over at the house and stuff quite a bit. So yeah. And then eventually I kept running into her from time to time. We'd run into each other, and then she finally introduced me to Lee. And it was good. You know, it was very, very interesting. And she told me that they had gotten into filmmaking and everything. And I was like, I'd like to try that. And I had a couple of theater credits under my belt at the time. And then finally they let me have a crack at it. And I've done, like I said, I've done a couple things with them, and it's just been a wonderful experience every opportunity you get, you know.
I agree with you. I met Kate on The Fixer, because she did the makeup for
Yeah,
that.
hair and makeup, yeah.
Yep.
And I've worked with her also in the other Wayne Shipley movies.
Oh, sure.
Two of the features she did makeup for, and a number of the shorts that we've done. But the first one, One-Eyed Horse, she didn't work on that one. So for my first experience with her was on The Fixer. She's great.
Yeah.
Besides being a wonderful person, she's really talented.
She is. She's good. She's very, very good, I think. And well, you know, something else too. I when I came to the first production that I had done, Rise and Fall in Love, when I was just doing a small part. Yeah, I was talking to her and I said, "So what are you playing in this too?" And she was like, "No. I just want to do hair and makeup." And I said, you know, I bet you'd be pretty good at it. And she was in okay. Oh, it was another one. Gosh.
You're talking about Ready for Action.
Ready for Action, yeah.
You were in that too. And
yeah,
I don't know. Are you familiar with Ready for Action, Brian?
I am. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Mike played
A creepo.
It seems like a creepy killer guy.
Mhm.
And Kate was the head of the all-female detective agency.
Right. Yeah, she was
And
yeah.
yeah, she knocked that out of the park. She was great.
Mhm.
She
Well,
really,
then she started doing the Kate show. It was an interview.
that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was on that once too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Kate show.
and now and now she was like, no, 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 I just want to do hair and makeup. And now she's singing with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many singles do they have out now? A good number of them.
Yeah,
And
they have
you know,
several singles out.
yeah, and she's good at that too. You know, Lord knows what else she can do. We
Right.
have to unleash that sometime. Huh?
She did all the graphics work on this CD. There's
Mhm.
a page pamphlet
Oh,
inside
wow.
that it folds out, and with a lot of nice pictures and the history of what we were doing there. She
Mhm.
did
Yeah.
all the work on that. Just beautiful, beautiful work.
Wow. Man, look at Kate. Man, doing all kinds of stuff. You gotta love her. You gotta love her. You know, she's just wonderful. You know,
What's interesting, isn't it, how many people in our business, because that's included, how we have so many other aspects of
Mhm.
our art, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's music and acting and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really a number of things that creative people tend to have going for them.
Mhm.
She's a great embodiment of that.
Mhm.
She absolutely is very, very professional. And I remember talking to her one time, and it's funny because I guess there's a lot of people that do this, I guess, but we had this conversation, and she was telling me how she, I guess, was learned to use this particular software that they were going to buy it and have somebody do things for them. And she said, well, if I can't figure it out, that's okay, but let me do it. So I think she just is really big on self-teaching and learning how to do things, because
Yes.
if one person can do it, they weren't born doing it. They had to go through that same process, and she's
Mhm.
not afraid to go through that process. And
Oh, yeah.
it makes her so valuable to any venture or any event that you're doing, because you know that if it's something there to be done, she will figure out how to do it. She's very professional.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
she is. She is.
and very dependable. I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
she needs to do in a particular time context. And makeup in movie stuff really has that associated with it, as we all know. I mean, you know, you might have your main players and then 50 extras, and they all have to go through the same process.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
a lot of the things we do, they're pretty, I wouldn't say majorly low budget, but they're low budget enough that you don't have the benefit of, you know, 5 makeup people. You've got 1 or 2,
Got
and
one.
she's amazing. Does a great job.
Yeah.
She sure is. She sure is. Just very creative and very easy to work with on top of it all too, which is it also a plus. Is also a plus. You know?
Yeah, it's very important.
He's very kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all are. They all are. Which is really good when it comes to doing your first films and your first movie work, being in that comfortable of an environment. You know, the way they make everybody feel welcome and comfortable. And I mean, I can even remember with that, being my first movie, really. I was supposed to be one of the people auditioning to replace Luana, because Luana quit the band with Brendan Biondi and those guys. Ready for Takeoff, I think they were called in the band in the
Clear
movie.
Clear for
Takeoff. Clear for
Well,
Takeoff.
they were that was their real band name.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
movie, they were called Tail Gunner.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so I had to. They were having people come in that were kind of silly, and some serious, because Nelson was in it too. He played my guitar in it, actually. Or no, I'm thinking of Fred Mulligan, but he played my guitar in Fred Mulligan. But I think he was in it, and there was a number of other people that were coming in, and they were kind of silly, singing that song, Everybody Needs a Little Bit of Love. And I was trying to memorize the song, and for some reason, I was off to the side. I was trying to remember it. And Lee comes over and goes, look, just have some fun with this. I can tell you look all stressed out. Don't be. We're having fun here. Just do it. And I was a lot better after that. You know, and again, my first time, having done an actual film, I was like really grateful. He really it took a lot off of my mind, just to have him say that to me and everything. And so well, Brian, I really appreciate you coming and joining us tonight. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and talking to you about the Lee Dahl family and your material, and the Fixer movies, and having a chance to reminisce with Alfred a little bit too.
Yeah. That was of great value. I really really was good to actually be able to see you and talk to you.
So
fantastic.
If you can, this is the shameless plug portion of the evening, where you can shamelessly plug anything you'd like to shamelessly plug, with no shamelessness spared, and all shamelessness encouraged and included. So have at it.
Well, I mean, as far as the album's concerned, it's available through Neat Face Media, Post Office Box 32, Ellicott City, Maryland, 21041. Neat Face Media, P.O. Box 32, Ellicott City, Maryland. And 21041. And because that's Neat Face and that's Lee Dahl, you could also pick up the Fixer and any of the projects you were talking about, because he did all of the Lee projects. Support Lee, and he's done some great things. Alfred, when we were talking about the Fixer before, I didn't realize that Secret Agent Man in the track over the course of the movie, he was singing it.
Yeah. Yes, he recorded Secret Agent Man. Yeah.
I was very familiar with the original, and I thought he did a great job. I had no idea it was him. So what a multi-talented guy. But thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you, Mike. That was very kind, and to see Alfred, that's a special benefit.
So folks, you can find Brian St. August's material. The CD is called The Shoreman, Tomorrow's People, Brian and Dave, Retrospective.
Retrospective is the name of the CD.
And again, with Neat Face Records and Neat Face Media and Lee Dahl Films is where you can find the Fixer movies, and definitely check them out. Remember, we are encouraging people on Fowl Players Radio to shop local, shop small. And by supporting a local to Baltimore filmmaker, you're helping provide opportunities for other people to get out and work on their craft and make art and get it out to you. So please, support it. Please, check it out and see there's other things. I mean, the one thing about Lee Dahl's material is that you never have to worry about having kids in the room. I mean, a lot of the shows that he's done, especially the Luana Lee stuff that are a little more musical, I almost call it the equivalent of watching an episode of The Monkees. I mean, you all agree? Yeah. A lot of it is like that, because they have, the adventure, they have the slapstick, and then some music. A lot of the movies and short films and movies are exactly like that, and they're suitable for the entire family, and they're very enjoyable. So I encourage you to get out and support Lee Dahl Films. So folks, it's been Brian St. August tonight, and Alfred Guy, my official horror movie correspondent of Fowl Players Radio, coming in again. So we will see you all next time. Thank you for listening, and thanks again, Brian.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Good to see you, Brian. Thank you, sir. Thanks for inviting me, Mike.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.
Absolutely.
This is Just Bill.
This is Rat Bastardson.
And this is Joe Poodle from Red Die Number 9, and you are listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Hello, this is John Piet,
Kevin Schmidt, and Jerry Bozick.
And we're August, a little band from Virginia. You can hear our story, other stories from the legendary Baltimore, D.C. music scene, and much, much more with Michael Spedden on Fowl Players Radio. You can find it at www.fowlplayersradio.com, on YouTube, and wherever you find podcasts online. Keep rocking.
Folks, we'd like to thank you again for stopping by and listening to our interview with actor Brian St. August. Alfred and I had a great time catching up with him. You know, we have worked together in the Lee Dahl Films family, and Brian just released his CD of material that he's recorded over the years called Retrospective. It was really great to, get to talk to him and find out a bit more about him and to reminisce a bit about working with Lee Dahl, which is really, really a special experience. That's just such a great group of people to work with, and I'm glad it brought us all together. So thank you, Lee. Brian, thank you for being on the show. Best of luck with your CD and all the future endeavors of Lee Dahl Films. And we will see you all next time, folks. My name is Michael Spedden. Remember, you can hear us at www.foulplayersradio.com and at youtube.com/@foulplayersradio, no matter where you listen. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button and leave us a fair review. Folks, we'll see you next time. Michael Spedden signing off, Foul Players Radio.